Welcome to Broke Ass to Badass, where heart-led entrepreneurs learn to build the businesses and lives of their dreams with confidence, ease, and joy. This is the anti-hustle movement, and we're your coaches in badassery, Kimi and Pua.
Find out more at bledigital.com, and wherever you're listening to this, be sure to click subscribe so you never miss an episode.
In this episode, we interview Caty Pasternak. Caty is a fun, fiery, and outspoken transformation coach that helps women embody new levels of leadership so they can create businesses and lives that turn their soul on. She blends spirituality, quantum physics, hypnotherapy, and intuitive development so women can actually experience transformation instead of just reading about it. Her podcast, YouTube channel, and Instagram have become an energetic vortex for inspiration and modern day personal growth. You are going to love our conversation with Caty. This is a juicy conversation, so value packed. Enjoy, guys. Welcome, Caty, to the podcast. How are you today?
I'm so good. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, we've been looking forward to this conversation, and we'd love to just kick things off by having you share in your words what it is that you do in this world and how you serve.
I'm a women's leadership coach, and I help women embody that new level of leadership within them so they can create their dream life, essentially, and their service, and really show up more powerfully in the world. So I do a variety of things, but I'd say that the leadership embodiment, manifestation, spiritual work, and a lot of just like deeper healing that needs to happen in our subconscious space are some of the things that I really geek out on, especially for women, for female leaders and entrepreneurs who are looking to really scale their impact and their income.
Wow, that's so awesome. I think we're going to have such a good conversation today. And I would love to just dive right in, like into the deep end here and hear your thoughts on how, like, what has this journey been like for you, and kind of what was the path to you deciding that this is something that you wanted to do and this is the service that you wanted to share with the world?
A lot of pain. Truthfully, my own pain like really had me go deep into personal development and spiritual work. I struggled with like every eating disorder under the sun, and depression, anxiety, popping pills, whole nine, rock bottom in so many different levels of my life. But basically, I think that's how a lot of people come to this work, is having their own rock bottom and then having that spiritual evolution moment. And I was always very extreme in everything that I did, including healing. So I did all of the things and went super hard with all of it and going into trauma and whatever it was that I could to kind of heal myself. And through that process of just kind of awakening who I really was through that, I realized that this is why I'm here, 100% life purpose. And it's just kind of unfolded from there, with me beginning to serve people who are dealing with similar struggles to me, and then continuing to build my business. I actually grew my business very, very quickly, and grew my impact very, very quickly. So I think a lot of people are kind of naturally following me and my journey in that. And so it became the next best idea to really support leaders, to help them have that, not just like the quick impact and the quick growth, but really growth that matters.
Wow, that's really beautiful. So, and we can certainly relate. We often say that, there's so many messes that we've been in, quote unquote messes in our business and our life that have turned into our messages and the very things that we coach on now. And it's beautiful how it gives it meaning. And we're like, okay, like we were just saying, like, certain things that we go through, it's like it's sort of like taking one for the team, right? It's like it gives all of that we went through, like purpose, and there's that feeling that we do it again, right? Because if it can save other people either pain or stress or time or money or any of the things that we struggled with, and awesome, then it was all worth it, as it always is. But certainly in the middle of it, it's hard to sometimes see the light, and we have that feeling, right? Like intuitively, we kind of know, okay, there's a reason for this, that we're going through it, but it can feel really heavy. And so, I guess the question is sort of, how did you have a sense, even as you were going through this, that you were meant to someday coach on these things. And did you, we often say like the words, serve through the shit, right? Like, were you able to serve, and how did you kind of, alchemize the pain in order to begin to serve? Did you at that time, or what did that journey look like?
Yeah. When I first started the journey, I did not have the idea that this is what I was meant to do. As it progressed, I definitely started to get hit with that inkling, and I did serve through my shit, 100%, but it wasn't in regards for any kind of like monetary gain. It was through a blog, and I really just processed everything that I was learning. And for me, I never grew up with the concept around spirituality, like whatsoever. I was like raised like somewhat Christian, but like not really at all. And when I first started reading things, like the power of now and like all of these messages that were telling me that my thoughts weren't real. And I was like, what the hell? Like, when you have those like first spiritual awakening moments, you're like, oh my God. And I just went to learn all the things. So I was obsessed with like blogging and sharing and just always putting it out there because I was obsessed with what I was learning. And I started my podcast from that place. And I really just created through all of it. Creation is like a core value and trait of mine. I've always created through it. And then eventually it was like, I couldn't not coach people through it because I would get messages and responses from them. And they're like, oh my God, that made such an impact on me. And I knew that I just wanted to go into a more like intimate experience with them.
I think we can relate so much, so deeply with you on that. Like Kimi and I think we're the same in that we just like obsess. We just get so, and I think that's not really the right word to use, but it might be, right?
But
like,
it is.
It is, right? Like we find something we love and we're just like, gotta know all the things. And also that same spirituality journey of like, okay, so I have to tell this story, even though we're going to get back into this in a second. But Kimi and I created a planner years ago. And the first thing in the planner was this check-in where you rate from 1 to 10 how you're doing mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And even though this was ours, and even though we had done some of this personal development work, I skipped the spiritually one for like months because I was like, I'm not spiritual, I'm not religious, moving on. And as we started learning all of these things and really like sinking into the spirituality of like being, right? And like, as you said, like your thoughts aren't real. Like none of this is real. It is what you make of it. And it's about trust and it's about love and all these things. I was just like, what is happening? And who lied to me for 30 years before I learned all this stuff? And oh my God, it's so funny. So anyway, coming back to it, I just loved looking through your website and all of your social media. And I just enjoyed so much your realness, your authenticity. And again, after hearing your story, I'm sure this comes from, working through trauma and pain, and we definitely can relate. But I would love for you to share how just being yourself, like posting photos that are unfiltered and raw, like how has that helped you to serve, and how has been an example by doing that helped you to shape the way that other women lead and have businesses and stuff like that?
Thank you so much for that. And it's definitely been like the core piece of everything. I think that was the most common denominator of a compliment that I received from everyone when I first started. Just like, you're so authentic, you're so real. And when women first started coming with me to work with me, that was also the first thing that they said. And I always share this with my clients that are coaches and leaders now, that the people that are coming to you, we all want is freedom. And with freedom comes being our authentic selves. And so if we are not being that, there is no reason for someone to be attracted to us, because they don't actually want what we're putting out there. Because no matter how how perfect we're trying to make ourselves seem, or how like our Instagram, feed is perfect, none of that actually matters to the depths of what someone wants, especially for something in like the personal transformation space. So being authentic has been absolutely like the thing for me. And it's amazing because I never had to think twice about it. It just like naturally came. And I think a lot of that was because I didn't put pressure on myself in the beginning of starting this, and to be like, oh, this is my business and it's going to be this big thing. It was just me wanting to share information with friends. and just kind of have that and go with that place. And for all of the work I've done around trauma, and I'm once again, like, I'm very extreme, and I don't just do things like by myself. I do things in experiential circumstances and somatically, and I've literally done so much to move directly into my fears always. That's like a huge piece of who I am that has allowed me to just show up raw, authentic always. And it's been everything. It's been everything to not just my personal fulfillment, but for my business growth.
Wow. When you talk about moving directly into your fears, those words really jumped out at me. Where have you always been like that? Is it something is it a muscle you've trained? Can you share more about diving into fear and what that looks and feels like for you?
Yeah, it's definitely a muscle that I've trained. And it's really been from seeing the growth that I experience because of it. And so obviously we can look at some fears about like, oh, leaving your job and starting your own business. Yeah, that's a fear. Done it for sure. But there's also fears that we are really emotionally traumatized by. Like for me, it was being bullied about my weight. And so as an example, like I've done leadership training where I've had to go around the room of like 60 to 100 people and like be in front of everyone and like lift up my shirt and like smack my belly around to tell them how much I love my belly, and literally just see everyone's eyes on me and relive my trauma of being teased. And I've done things like this, and I've gone through this like repatterning of my nervous system, because when we move into our fear and all that nervous system, like that resistance comes up within our body, we have the opportunity to actually liberate ourselves from it. And things like that, we don't think they have like they don't have that much of effect on our lives, but those are like the catalyst moments for me in leadership. And that's what I really like to take people through now, because there's so much that lies within the body, all of that fear, and we don't realize how that's keeping us back, because we think it's just about that one area of our lives. So it's, for my example, I could have said like, oh, well, my body insecurity is just keeping me back from like dating, but not at all. I mean, I always say that like you're never going to be able to lead unless you feel good in your skin. So when we are like trying to be seen more and like give an opinion and speak our truth, everything that has not been resolved yet is going to still live within your nervous system. And so moving into your fear allows you to clear it out, so you're truly free to be yourself. You are truly present and you're not living in the past anymore. That is what like presence is. It's about healing the trauma of the past so you can be present with the truth of what is and not be clouded by that perception of our pain, of our insecurity, of whatever it is that's keeping us back. Moving right into that is just like, it's such a catalyst for freedom, for personal freedom. And it's a muscle that we get to train, because now when I really look at things that I'm afraid of, it's like I'll feel the fear, and then it's like I get triggered with excitement because I think about who I'm going to be after I move through that. And that's something that I've done with myself, to repeat that, because it's like the person that you become on the other side of moving directly into all of that fear, it's just, you could not put a price tag on it. It's everything. It's invaluable. And for anyone that's looking to like lead and be an entrepreneur and help people, like that needs to be your commitment to yourself, because if you're not moving into your fear, you're putting more fear out into the world and you're keeping your clients in that fear spiral. It's your duty to literally move into your fear to show other people that it's okay if they do it too.
Holy
so
shit.
good.
That was amazing. That is so valuable. Like if you are listening to this right now and you're driving or you're doing something else and you only got half of that, please rewind or listen to this again later. Like that was incredible and so valuable. And I think it's fear. We were talking about this earlier. Like there are so many things that we do to numb ourselves out or stay busy so that we don't have to look at the things that we fear or the things that are kind of staring us in the face, saying like, this is what needs to happen for things to move forward. Mm-hmm. And it can be scary, and that fear can be debilitating. And I think you're so right. Someone who is, anybody, any human could take value from this. But in our world, for entrepreneurs, like this is something that has to be a muscle. I think you're so right. And it's so liberating. It's true freedom, right? When you no longer have to live in fear or think that there is anything out there that you can't overcome. Because we all know this journey can be a very interesting one with a lot of
wild
ups and
ride.
downs.
Yes.
Exactly. So thank you so much for sharing that. That was so valuable.
Yes, for sure.
So I would love to hear your thoughts on how you kind of see femininity in the world of business ownership and what kind of like power sits behind that, because I think there's a lot of negativity in the world. We're always reading even an article like, oh, there are now however many women CEOs. Like underlying that is like, because women can't do this kind of work, right? So I would love to hear your thoughts and really kind of positive outlook on why it's so important to you, especially to empower women to be business owners, and what that world looks like to you.
Yes. Oh, I love this so much. Yeah. I think I'm really grateful to even have the opportunity to speak about this now, because as like feminine energy has become increasingly popular in our industry within the last like 5 years, it's like, I think a lot of women who are more masculine or have perceived themselves to be more masculine are looking at the feminine energy like it's soft. And like, it doesn't have as much of an impact. You don't make as much money. You're not going to get as much done. It's like all about like whatever that idea is that a lot of people are kind of portraying that the feminine energy is. And for me, I run a very feminine business, but it's very fierce, very fierce. And the feminine energy is actually here to destruct. It's here to awaken. It is the power source. So many women, it's like we have so much unlocked power and creativity within us, but it's because of like the masculine like fear paradigm that we've been operating under, that we don't really know how to showcase that in the world, right? Like, so some women might have thought that they were, or someone have told them that they were like bossy before, or whatever it was that they needed to do to shift because of how they were being perceived in maybe a corporate environment, as an example. But in this space, for someone to run their own business, this is like you being able to actually unleash your fire completely, which is everything that you want to do. And the only thing that you have to do, going back to what we were saying earlier, is release your fear patterns keeping you from doing that, and allow that fierce feminine energy to move through you. It doesn't mean that you need to be like an activator, fire starter, kind of like crazy energy like I am. You can be a very soft feminine energy, but it's also about like being powerful. Like being the woman here, the heart-centered leader that's committed to service, that's committed to intimacy, that's committed to creativity, more than just structure, organization, like whatever else. Like, let's look at the results, because that's what burns women out in entrepreneurship when they go to learn a new business system or a funnel or do XYZ. They're just like, oh, this isn't fun. I don't want to do it. And the cool thing is you don't have to do anything that's not fun in your business. You get to build a business based off of you and your fire and your energy. And that's what the feminine energy is. It's like, it's the ocean, and the masculine is the beach. It's the sand. But the ocean is the beautiful thing that everyone's coming to fucking see. Your masculine is like holding it down, but like your power, your inspiration, your creativity, like you being a woman is what everyone is like in awe of. So for every woman that feels like she has a mission, it's like, don't identify with like, oh, well, how am I going to do this as a woman? It's like, don't even think about putting yourself in any kind of box when you create your own business. You can do everything the way that you want to do it. And you're going to be able to build things that are going to support you to do that. But it's like the feminine energy is the most important. The masculine can support it. So it's like, in entrepreneurship, for example, like our creativity is the most important thing. Our creativity and our energy are everything. So if the way that you're setting everything up is just keeping you like very stale and like looking at what everyone else is doing and trying to copy a system, it's like, no wonder your business isn't working. Like the system isn't supposed to be built so you can, like fit yourself into it. Like the business needs to fit whatever it is that you're offering. So I always like to tell women to like really just look at everything that they love doing that gets them in their zone of genius, like their passion, their everything, like da-da-da. And then look at some of the foundations that you think might support you in that. So, for me, it's like, I have days that are just creativity days. And those are my days of just flow and like whatever wants to come through me, it's coming through me. And then I've been able to build a team to help me like relay that content out into the world. When I didn't have a team, it was just like I'd still had my creativity day, but then I'd have those days that were like not the most fun, where I had to do some systems and structure and organization, but it was never the other way around. And I don't know if that answers your question, but that's what wanted to move through me right now.
Love it. Oh, I love the fire, and I can just feel it in your words. And so I have a question about that creativity. And so what are your thoughts on in terms of, so you talked about having these creative days. Are those days that you schedule? So there's the thought, right, that you schedule it and you just show up, and if it flows through, great. Or is it that you follow the flow of creativity? So you know what I'm saying? Like what's tell us about that.
Yes. So for me, I do have the days scheduled. Sometimes it will flow based on like my travel schedule. But what I find sometimes with women when they're first starting is that they haven't yet built the commitment within themselves to just flow. So it's kind of like if we're living from fear patterns and like unconscious paradigms of like procrastination and staying small, we actually don't have what it takes to follow the flow, because we don't actually trust ourselves to get all of that done. So in that process, it's like, schedule the day for your flow and be able to like, and learn how to create the flow if you don't feel it in that moment. And so I think that's where a lot of people get tripped up. They're like, well, I just haven't felt inspired for that. This is like some of my clients that I've worked with. Like, I haven't felt inspired for the last 2 weeks, so I haven't posted on Instagram. And it's like, okay, well, that's not going to work at all. And the flow isn't something that happens to you. It's something that you generate. It's something that you create. Once again, it's like you are the creator of that feminine, fierce energy within you. And your purpose, if you are a spiritual-based entrepreneur, your purpose is to provide value to people and to serve other people. So it's like in that moment, we can always tap in and be like, align me with my purpose and allow the flow to move through me. Like I'm ready to receive that flow, and then create it and move through it, because creativity breeds more creativity. So it is scheduled. I allow myself to flow during it, but it came from a time of me building the consistency muscle, which is I think what so many people are missing right now.
That's so huge. So huge. And I love that you just call people out on their bullshit and you know, they're.
Oh yeah, always.
Right?
Yeah.
Go ahead, keep making the excuses, but here's a solution.
Yeah.
So great. Love it. And we talked about this. I don't remember when or where or with who, or if it was in my head, but we talk a lot about creating that, like, as you said, creating the flow. And part of that comes from allowing yourself to go beneath the surface a little bit. In our last week's podcast episode, so we were talking about like shifting your energy and trying to like, how do you shift from feeling like shit to feeling empowered and like actually being able to do something about it and heal it. And part of that was just like allowing yourself to look at your shit and not just look at what's on the surface. Like, oh, okay, I don't feel great because I'm hot. Really? Is that it? You know? So I love that you said that and really encourage people to go deeper, because I think it's valuable and it's the only way to really let yourself get in the flow. And I always think about like, I think I'm similar to you where I channel when we do podcasts sometimes and I don't really remember what we talk about. So they always sound new when I listen to them, but that's never the case when you first start. Right. So like, you're never really going to be in the flow immediately. And it's allowing yourself to sit in that and like let it happen. Right.
Yep. I would say it's like you're building the body for the flow to move through you. And if you're not showing up for it, it's like, it's never going to come through you because you're literally not available.
Right. Or like, you're not giving it the time it needs to like build itself into something. Yeah. It makes sense in my head. I don't think I'm saying it right, but I love it.
I feel you.
Did a great job. Oh, awesome. I love it. So as you coach clients, I'm curious to hear, as they kind of step into their own power and work through these fears and really, like, I'm sure you can feel it's palpable when people are like, okay, like this is it for me. I was afraid of this. Now I have this. I didn't know how to do this. Now I'm sitting into this. Like what is that next level, next step, in your mind? Like once somebody's like, this is what I want. This is what lights me up. This is how I've healed myself. This is how I want to serve. This is how I want to like be in the world. What is your what do you share with people? And it doesn't have to be technical, like, okay, well now it's time for a website, but like what is that next step of empowerment that you share with people to really step into the world and start serving?
Yeah. Oh, such a beautiful question. Once all of that is liberated, and obviously it's only the surface level of what's liberated, because it's always going to come to be more levels as we go on. But for me, it's about self-image, and pretty much the majority of my work is about the subconscious operating systems that we're all going through, because we can talk about like branding and all those things, but if you're not embodying the leader and you don't view yourself as that leader who's successful, who's attracting clients, who's making an impact on people, nothing is ever going to work, because people will not view you as that either. So when we liberate the fear space, whether we're doing it through embodied action or through like hypnosis or other things, you get that space within your unconscious to imprint something new. So I'll have people ask themselves, who is the person you need to become to make an impact on the person you're here to serve? And really, what do you need to have embodied within you? How do you need to view yourself for people to respond to you? Because unfortunately, not unfortunately, there's a lot of people out in this space that are doing really great work, but they're not confident enough in what that they're doing. So they tend to stay very vanilla, and they don't actually get to the meat of what someone's going through, because they don't identify themselves as someone who can actually make an impact, or they don't think they have the right to, or they're afraid of not being liked. So it's like they're associated with their wounded ego self versus their empowered leader self, who is a light worker, who's here to trigger people and awaken them out of the paradigm that they've been living in. Because if we all just stay like kind of in this vanilla space, like no one's going to make a change, because then everyone's just going to stay in that trance that they've been in. But when you start to say something and activate someone and trigger them, they're like, oh shit, wait, you just said something that's true for me that I need to go deeper into. And that's what actual light work is. So it's about changing our self-image so we feel confident enough in doing that. We feel like within our body that we're a powerful leader, and we view ourselves that way, and we act that way, and we show up that way, and we don't fuck around with it. We know that this is our purpose, and we continue to ingrain that self-image through deeper states of visualization, new embodied action, incantations, whatever people's reprogramming practices. But doing something to get you aligned with the leader that you're becoming, so people actually respond to you.
Love that. So do you have any, if somebody's listening to this right now and they're like, yes, I definitely feel that this is the time where I could step deeper into my power and really own this space, see myself more as a leader, present myself more as a leader. Do you have maybe an exercise or a place where people could start, maybe a journaling exercise, something that could help them to begin stepping into that?
Mm-hmm. Yes. I would definitely journal on the question that I just asked of like, who do I need to become in order to make an impact on the person I want to impact? And what would they respond to? And just get to like your body language, like your messaging, like what is it that you need to say? How do you need to speak? Who do you need to become? So you get an idea of that framework, and then to practice that in visualization for anyone that wants like an awesome morning visualization. I have one on my website. I can send you guys to put a link in there. But I'm really interested in deeper states of visualization to get people to see themselves. So if you are a visualizer, see yourself like being a leader, see people responding to you, feel into your confidence, get all of your senses engaged in that. And then after your visualization practice, I would invite people to get their body engaged with it. And whether you're like, raising your hands up in the air, or you're like pounding on your chest, or you're dancing, or whatever it is that's going to have that somatic movement that's going to align you to that self-image that you're looking to create, do that, and then move right into action and creativity. because this is the piece that so many people miss. It's like we cultivate all that energy through reprogramming practices like visualization or the things that we're talking about, but people will get distracted out of it. So it's like they'll go to look on social media. They're like, look at their bank account. They're like talking to their partner, and they're like forgetting the energy that they just created within their field. And to anchor that, we need to take action on it. So if that means like you doing all this work in the morning and then moving directly to an Instagram live, like from that power source, or you like, having a sales call, or you like reaching out to someone, but just like acting from that energy, because when you act from that energy, that energetic identity, you become it.
Wow. Love that so much. Oh, I'm like so excited for that exercise. And I feel like it's going to help a lot of people. One thing also before we let you go, because I had a list of notes here and like things that I definitely wanted to touch on. And I know this could be a big subject, but maybe just a few words on money mindset. Because the way that you phrased it and the way that you speak about it in terms of having a money mindset of steel to manifest a new financial reality, something about those words, I think just really, really hit home and was like, wow, my gosh. And you talk also not just about creating, because I think people talk about money mindset a lot, but you talk about sustaining that. And I think that as entrepreneurs, as we know, there is ebb and flow with business. And so, talk to us maybe just for a bit about the money thing, because I don't think that we talk about it enough as entrepreneurs.
Yeah, money is so huge. It's so huge and so important. So for me, like money mindset, what a lot of people talk about, it's like, the reprogramming practices. We all know that, like expressing gratitude for money and like changing our relationship and understanding that we are the creators of our financial, future, whatever that is. And for me, it's kind of like we have to be really, 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 really intentional about reprogramming ourselves, not just in those moments that we're intentionally doing it, but throughout our day. So it's like if you're doing intentional work around your money mindset by like reading a book or like journaling through it, writing a letter to money, whatever you're doing, but then 2 days later, you're looking at your bank account and you have to pay a bill and you're like freaking out and you're in scarcity mode. That's what you need to pay attention to. And in order to create more money in our lives and sustain it, we have to feel good about money. And so it's like we actually have to reprogram a new vibration around money. So we have to pay attention to where our vibration is whenever money is in the situation. So it's like if we want to do something nice for ourselves, we're like, I don't have enough money to do it. We have to be mindful of that and ask, who am I choosing to be right now? The version of me that's thriving financially, what would they choose in this moment? And that doesn't always mean like, going to treat ourselves to everything all the time, but it's like slowing down enough in that moment to ask, who are we making decisions based off of the struggling self or the abundant self? And when we are giving money to others, are we really dropping in to celebrate the ability that we have to give and just being like, thank you, money. I'm so excited that I get to like pay for my rent this month. Like, thank you so much for sustaining me in this beautiful home. I love this home. Thank you. Or when we go to buy a coffee, it's like, thank you so much, money. I love this coffee. This is amazing. Or when someone if a client gives you money, whenever you see an invoice come through in your email inbox, the drop in, it's like, thank you. I'm so excited. Thank you, money. Because all those moments are us reprogramming the way that we feel about money. And if we continue to feel stressed about money, we're never going to create more of it because our subconscious is associating money with stress. No matter how much we want more of it consciously, the subconscious is like, fuck that. That's like a really stressful thing. So we have to like really like reprogram that whenever money comes up to just drop into a state of, if it can't be genuine excitement and gratitude, maybe it's just relaxing and not getting into that fear story. That's on the energetic level. And then for entrepreneurs on the physical level, we need to learn how to manage money. And it is painful. It's so painful. I totally understand. Like when I first started my business, I was like $50,000 worth in debt. I like did not have a savings account. I like knew nothing about managing money. And then as I've grown my business, I really had to be like, okay, I need to like track my finances. I need to build a savings account. I had to pay off all my debt. Like there were all these things that like aren't the sexiest thing. But when you start to love and appreciate money and stop neglecting it, you will create more of it. And it's just something that we have to be very mindful of and very healing oriented around, because there's a lot of unconscious wounding around money. And I always tell my clients, like, treat money like it was your boyfriend, and celebrate him, like want him to come around more, like take him on dates, like do things with him instead of like looking away, be like, oh, you're so disgusting, I can't even look at you. Like, no, let's make sure that money feels safe being around us, that we feel safe with having money. Because a lot of people, they don't actually create and hold money because they don't feel comfortable with it. They'll like have like a 20K month and then like, oh my God, I don't know what to do with this, I'm going to spend it all, like, because they don't feel comfortable. So it's really about just slowing down whenever money is in the conversation, whenever it's coming into us, and just making sure that we're operating from that place of who we want to be versus like the wounded money like story that we had before.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that. I think people are just going to find so much value in that. And it's so true. Being a business owner, money takes a new form. I think once we've shifted out of the 9-to-5 space where there's that steady flow and it feels very secure, even though we know that it never really is, that shift in the volatility of income, being a business owner, can be a really stressful thing. And for people to just sit into their gratitude around it. And I love that you said, even if it's not gratitude, just let it be relaxing and not stressful. Like, that was gold.
Yeah, it's huge. It's like, it's these little things though that make a huge difference. And I know like everyone usually it's like, oh, I gotta like change everything. You don't have to change everything, it's like one step at a time, but understand that like you are creating your financial reality, like period, hands down. Whatever your finances are like right now, you've created that. And that's really great, because that means that you can create something new. And so like whenever people look at their money, like, I don't have enough money. It's like, yeah, no shit, because you haven't created anything yet. So like, I just love kind of reminding people that like, you are always the creator. You're never a victim to money. Money is waiting for you to step into service, and then you can receive it.
It's brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Wow, beautiful. This has been such an amazing conversation. Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing so much value with us and our audience. And we just know people are going to want more of this. So where can people, what's the best place for people to find you? And tell us all the places where you are.
Yes. So I'd say Instagram is like my number one spot. So it's just Instagram at Caty Pasternak, and Caty is Caty. It's not Caty. And Instagram, pretty much I'm always there, always on stories. And then I also have my podcast, Sexy Soul Radio, but those are pretty much the two places you can find me.
Perfect. And any final thoughts for our audience?
Oh God, I have so many words, but like, just like, really celebrate yourself for even being here in this moment and listening to this conversation. And even if you're triggered and being like, oh my God, that's so far from where I'm ever going to be, it's really not. Like, it's really not that far. Like, you're going to be able, if you stick like one foot in front of the other and you keep listening to information like this and you keep getting support from people who are doing the thing that you want to do, you're going to get there. It doesn't have anything to do with who you are as a character. It's just your willingness to do it. And I think that that's sometimes the message that we need, that like, yeah, it's not always easy, but one step in front of the other. We all did it. We all have those awkward moments listening to podcasts being like, these people are so much smarter than me. And, we're not. We just like we've just like had experience, and that's it. And you're going to have the same thing.
Boom.
Awesome.
Oh, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much. And thanks for the beautiful work you're doing in the world.
Thank you so much for having me and for everything that you guys are doing. So grateful for you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of our podcast. As always, we can continue the conversation in our free Facebook group, bit.ly/BLE Tribe. Let us know what you thought, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, BLE Digital, and on Instagram at Broke Ass to Badass.